Hi, I'm Beachy Coakley and welcome to the programme. This week I'm going to be talking to two people whose fondness for a flutter turned their lives upside down. While they were waiting for the big win, they resorted to lying and to crime and damaged those very people who cared about them the most. When my guests Jack Sterling and Kate began to gamble, they really did bet their lives. Jack, if I can just start with you. You started gambling when, what, you were 7?
Yeah.
7 years old?
Yeah. I used to go to the bookies for my dad. And I think that's when it all started. I used to stand outside the bookies with a note, with a bet on it for my dad. And men took the bet off me, brought me the docket out, and I went home. And there was one day that I was in the bookies. And I picked, the bookies was virtually empty that day, and I picked 2 horses out, Flashbulb and African Patrol.
You can remember them?
Yeah. Half Crown Double, and both of them won, and that was me starting.
That was the hook, yeah?
Yeah, that was it.
You were only about this size?
Yeah.
Or maybe...
Yeah, a wee bit bigger than that, yeah.
So the picture would be like this little fella looking up at the counter, or I just got this picture in my head. You wouldn't be able to reach the counter,
Yeah. I walked up and put the note through the hole. There was a hole in them days, and they wrote the docket for you and give you it back again.
What was your family like then?
I came from a dysfunctional family. My mum and dad fought all the time.
They were drunk?
No, they weren't drunk. They were having rows for what I didn't know. So I ran away from home.
What age did you run away at?
About 8 years of age.
For a long time, or?
I was away for a week, and the police brought me back again.
What did you do in that week?
There used to be a scouts hut up in the Armour Road. And I knew a way into the hut from underneath, and I stayed in there. I stole on the streets to survive. I begged on the streets to survive.
I mean, your parents must have been mad that you were just missing. I mean, they must have been beside themselves.
Yes, yeah. I was arrested. I was in the Curzon Picture House one night with another boy, and our photographs were on the Belfast Telegraph, and when we got the tickets, the girl recognised us, and she phoned the police.
So they come and got you?
Brought me back again. But I ran away again, shortly after that. Then as the years went on, at 14 years of age, I put into Malone Training School. And I was put in with boys that were in for burglary, stealing cars. I was put in there for larceny. That's the old term for stealing. And I run away from there as well. They couldn't keep me in the institution, so I ended up in Crumlin Road Jail at 15.
Kate, now you're in a blacked out situation, because I know that you want to retain your anonymity, and that's fine, and I'm just really pleased that you're here anyway, because it's really important that we hear from a woman, that's caught up in this. When did you start? When did it become a problem for you?
My children all left to go to school, and I was just left with this vacuum of nothing to do. And I'd been to bingo socially a few times, but...
Like it's a night out or sort of thing?
Maybe one session a week. And with all the kids being in school, I was free all day. So I started to go to bingo every day. And after about 4 years in bingo, I realised that I did have a problem. But it took me a while to admit to it. I was actually in bingo when my then 4-year-old son was knocked down. He spent 3 months in a wheelchair, but he's okay now. I also went to bingo when my son was in hospital with meningitis. I had meningococcal septicemia. And when my youngest child was born, he was only 2 days old, and I was straight back into the bingo hall.
What is it about bingo, kid? But I mean, is it? I'm just trying to get.
Yeah, it's the buzz. You're sitting waiting maybe 1 or 2 numbers. Is your number going to come up? Are you going to win this big amount?
Can you actually win big amounts of money?
Well, I haven't been in almost 5 years. It was, when I was there, it was £200 for a full house, which would seem maybe a bit of money, but it's not really. No matter how much you win, you still want more.
So it was like the edge, it was like that, the buzz, as you say.
It's like a chase. You're just going after that win, but once you get that win, you probably owe it out anyway. So it's so hard. And after being really badly in the bingo for 4 years, I contemplated suicide. And when I was in the hospital, I had my stomach pumped, and went and seen a psychiatrist who asked me what my problem was. And I told him that I was £2,500 in debt to paramilitaries for bingo, and he laughed at me. He didn't see bingo as a problem.
He laughed at you?
He laughed at me. And I just sort of didn't
I wonder
know
what he thought the
time.
joke was.
Well, I didn't. I was crying and he was laughing. It was just, I'll never forget it.
No.
Never forget it.
Jack, Kate's just saying there that the buzz,
Yeah.
or the edge, or whatever.
Yeah, the buzz, yeah.
Was it the same thing for you?
It was the same thing for me as well, yeah. Once I won an amount of money, it was never enough. It was never enough. I always came out losing. I always come out of the bookies losing. And if it did come out winning or breaking even, I thought I was lucky, but they got it back the next day again.
How did it build up though? Because I mean, start off at 7.
Yeah.
You're doing it for your father.
Yeah.
Stand outside the bookies with
Yes.
a little card, and then you progress to going inside. The bookies is empty that day.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? It's amazing. You remember the names
Yeah.
of the 2 horses.
I know.
Half crown double on that. Up it comes. They give you the money. You come out, and you thought, oh, good. So, but then it starts. But how did it? Tell me how it built up. Can you paint sort of a picture, Jack, the way it sort of progressed?
Well, after that, and as I grew up, I always wanted to gamble. I always wanted to gamble on cards. I learned that when I was in prison. I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't get away from gambling. Everything. I just wanted to gamble all the time.
Did it feel like it was following you? Or you were on this road? There you are in prison.
There is times that you do feel a road. There was days that I went into the bookies and won money and won thousands. But I didn't leave it. If the racing was over early, you left with it. But you were back the next day with it again.
You know when you're in that, if I can use the word frenzy, and I don't mean it like, but when you're in that winning frenzy, so you got all this money, or did you keep the money with the bookie and just run on it? Like keep betting on it, or did you get the money?
No, they paid me. So
they pay you the money and then you're going back again, so you just be going back and forward with every race?
Yes. You're betting on every race.
What's that like mentally, if you're on a roll with that?
You just want to back everything in every race. If there's 4 meetings on and there's dog meetings on, you want to bet on every race.
So it's a real tunnel vision, Jack?
Yeah.
Nothing, no one or nothing or nothing or no one is going to get in the way of that?
No.
What would a day be like for you, Kate? Could you give me a day in the life of Kate when she was in the throes of all of that? Because there was more to it, wasn't there, than you just going to the bingo? I mean, you ended up, in, as you say, in debt to paramilitaries, which is quite serious, yeah?
Yeah. I would have got up in the morning, got the older ones out to school, got the youngest one. I would have took him round to my sister-in-law. If she didn't mind him, I just used to shout at her. You're minding him now. I had no other focus. She had to mind this youngest child so I could go and play bingo.
So and this is my word, not yours, but would you just go around and abandon the child?
Yeah.
With her?
Yep.
And like it or not, you were leaving without the child?
Yep. I would leave him literally with anybody I could get to mind him, so that I could go down to play bingo.
So by that time, your child was taking second place to your addiction?
You're like a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
It's this drug that you have to get.
It's the same
Nothing
thing.
can stand in your way. And I would have went into the bingo hall 12 o'clock and stayed there all day until it closed.
What's? I don't think I've ever been in a bingo hall, or if I have been a drunk and I can't remember. What's the atmosphere like in a bingo hall?
It's like a big group of friends. You go in, everybody says hello to you. You get a cup of coffee or a meal. You can now get snacks in bingo halls, a dinner or something.
So it's a real social.
It's just like a social evening.
Only at 12 o'clock, and so it's like a lunch thing?
Yeah, a lunch thing. And then you just sit all day and play bingo. Play the books. When the books go over, you play the slots.
The slot machines?
Yeah. And it's the same, it's for, well, I was there now 5 years ago, it was maybe you were playing for £1 a line.
When people seen you every day, for example, in the bingo hall, did anybody ever say anything to you?
No.
You know, like that maybe you're doing this too much, or maybe you're losing too much?
No, there's always the same faces. I mean, there were a group of us, maybe about 10 of us. They were always there at the same time together.
Out of that 10, how many would you say had the same problem as you, Kate?
All of us. All of us. But I got to the point where I had to admit that I had a problem. I caused too much heartache. And I mean, 10 other families were bound to be feeling the same thing that my family was feeling. So I just had to get out.
Yeah.
Like a rat race, I just had to get off.
How much were you spending, Jack, at the height of it? At your worst, if you want?
At my worst. The bets, over the years, the bets just got bigger. But when I crossed the line, I lost £15,000 in a week.
15,000?
In a week.
I mean, that's an enormous amount of money.
Yeah.
How did you get the money?
It was the bank's money. I initially had won two sums, one of 4,000 and one of 5,000. I gambled that.
What, loans from the bank?
No, money that I had won.
Oh, okay.
I won 4,000 at one time. Then I won 5,000 a matter of days later. I lost the 4, I lost the 5, and then I started writing cheques.
So it started mounting and mounting and
Yeah.
mounting. What happened with that? I mean, did the bank obviously...
The bank pressed for criminal charges. I went to the court. The judge seen the predicament I was in, Peter Gibson, and he gave me a suspended sentence.
Was that the rock bottom, Jack?
Yeah, that was the rock bottom. After I lost the money, I came back to Belfast, and I was in a bookies one day in Bangor, and I think at about 120 quid. I started gambling on the dogs at 12 o'clock. 2 o'clock, something really strange happened that day. I looked round over my shoulder, and it was like things had went into slow motion for me. It was like everything going around me was slow motion.
What, like
And
you
I
felt
knew
disassociated from it?
Yeah. And I couldn't leave with the money that I had in my pocket. I don't know why.
You couldn't leave with it?
I couldn't leave with it. I think I had £25 left. I wrote the docket. I don't know what I wrote. And I walked out of the bookies and I went home to my daughter's house and phoned GA.
Gamblers Anonymous?
Yes, yeah.
What about for you, kid?
It was about the 8th of October 1996. I just cried the whole day. My husband asked me what was wrong. I sat down and explained everything to him.
He had no idea?
He didn't, no.
How did you manage to keep it from him?
A compulsive gambler is a great liar.
Telling
you just
lies
lie
when
that much, it comes so natural.
telling lies when even the truth will do.
It's horrible. And I told my husband everything that had happened about the debt I was in the paramilitaries, and he gave me the number of GA. And I phoned a guy in England who gave me a phone number for GA here, and I phoned the rooms, and basically that was a turning point in my life.
I can remember the first meeting I ever went to, first AA meeting I ever went to, and it's funny the mind of the addict. You know, it was in Guernsey, and it was on a Thursday night, and there was about 10 people there, and you know, when I was drinking and stuff, I was so full of it. You know, I thought I knew everything, and I was convinced that everybody in that room was just there giving it all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, there was a pub just up on the corner from the church where the meeting was, and I was convinced that after the meeting, they'd all be up there drinking, that they were just, you know, giving it all the lip service and telling lies.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you can imagine the only one out of that group that was in the pub after the meeting was me. You know, I was very cynical about the whole thing. What was it like for you as a woman taking that first step across that door?
I phoned the guy on a Monday, and I went down for the meeting on a Tuesday night. And when me and my husband walked in,
He went with
me as my partner to my first meeting. And the guys stretched a hand of friendship straight away to my husband. And my husband says, it's not me, it's her.
Gosh.
And the guys were great about it. I was taken counsel by two guys. Two great guys are still around. And it's just, that first night I cried. In front of total strangers, I just sat and cried. And you have 20 questions that you're asked.
Oh, the demon questions. How many takes did you get?
18.
18 out of the 20?
Yeah. And it takes 6 if you're an addict.
Yeah, because it runs through sort of the things that you would do, and if you answer, is it 6 if you answer 6 of them?
If you answer over 6, then you do have a problem. And I answered 18 of them, including the one about suicide. And the guys that did counsel me sat with me for an hour, and then went straight into the meeting. And the guys were fantastic.
Now, you also, as you say, you had to. It's like you had to leave it there. It's like a spiritual awakening, sort of.
Yeah, it was.
Jack,
Yeah,
isn't
it was
you
for
know?
me. Yeah, that was my turnaround.
You just had to leave it there and then walking away from getting off that road.
Yes. Yeah.
So you picked up the phone to GA.
Yeah, I phoned GA and I spoke to a wee man in Bangor called Jimmy, and Jim, I went to the Bangor meeting on the Monday night, and the Bangor group was a small group, and he brought me to a bigger group in Belfast. The night I went to the meeting, there was 25 men there, and you know, that's when it really set in, because these men were talking about themselves, but they were talking about me as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and it just started from there. You know, it was a long, hard struggle, because there was other addictions as well.
Did you do that questionnaire?
Yes, 19.
19 out of the 20?
Yes. Suicide, I think, was inevitable if I had carried on calming, because I was on the road in no time.
It's hard for people to understand. You know, it's maybe I've got it wrong. I always think of it as such a Belfast thing. There's a pub, there's a bookies, there's a pub, there's a bookies, there's a bookies, there's a pub, there's a bakery. You know, it's they just go hand in hand, don't they? Whereas different in England, and I know that's a big problem over there, but it's just here it seems they're like twins, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
You know, the temptation, because you were drinking a lot, you were taking drugs, Jack.
Yes.
You know, you passed the audition on all.
I did
all
them
sides.
all. Yeah, I did them all, and I couldn't get off, and I didn't see what I was doing was wrong. Believe it or not, I did not see that.
No, but you don't when you're in it.
No.
You know, you can't see any. You know, it's just like, you know, the horses. You're blinkered.
Yeah.
It has to be that way.
Yeah.
You know, addicts do because they can't not do.
Yeah.
And it's like you at the bingo. You can't leave all. Just go for the one sitting or whatever it is. When you might say that in your mind, but the reality is, kid, that you'd be there. And I suppose those kids could have been up to anything.
Yeah, that's what
You know,
I
and that's not a
said.
criticism of you as a mother. You know, that's just, it just comes, you know.
No, it must
com-
have been a nightmare.
It comes first, yeah.
And I actually have 2 older daughters who, I'll never forget, when I first started the rooms, I sat the 2 of them down, explained to them that Mummy had a problem, and they were behind me 100%. And when I reached my first year in GA, my girls made me a big card. And the things that wrote on it about how much I'd changed in that year. I'd gone from this neurotic mother who screams all the time because I couldn't get the bingo, to a mum who could sit and play, be there when they got home from school. It was hard on the kids too, but that's what I'm saying. It's just so good to be out of it.
How do you cope now? Because, you know, the bingo halls are still there, they're still open,
Yeah.
they've still got, although you get the sort of the welcome in hand from GA, the bingo halls has a big welcome in hand as well, doesn't it? How do you cope with that?
As I've said before, the GA, the rooms, my family, who still support me 100 step of the way. One of the first things that when I joined GA was I was not allowed to have control of money in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I mean, my husband would say, do you want me? And I'd say, yeah, you take it. I'd rather not be in control of the money. I do work. I'm in charge of a lot of money and work. But I feel that much stronger now.
So it's the
that I
importance of
don't
keeping
need-
yourself safe, kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always read the 12 steps, always. And I have a wee book, a wee guide that answers a lot of questions about the changes that you're going to go through. And I find it very, if I'm feeling down, I just have a wee look, wee read, remember what I put my family through,
That's it.
and just know that I couldn't do that to my children again.
It's just always one step away. It's not
Yeah.
going, you know,
Yeah,
it's an ism
you're-
rather
you're-
than a wasm.
Yeah, your last bet, maybe for me it's nearly 5 years, but I could have a bet tomorrow.
Well,
always there.
and that's a very, very good point. I say to people, and you know, like with alcohol, or it's the same with gambling. You know, you're closer to your next bingo session than you're further away from your last.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know. How about you, Jack? How are you coping with it all now? Because it's like, it's when you come into the reality and suddenly you've got, for you anyway, you've got to look at a lot of lost years.
Yeah.
You're 50 now.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose in a way, and I really understand this, you're picking up the pieces.
Yeah. Picking up the pieces and getting on with it. I had to come away from the company that was keeping. I had to come away from the drugs, and I did it just one step at a time. The lies, everything. Started getting honest with myself, and my life's brilliant now. You know, it's great.
Everything's gone nuts. I think, you know, there's these scratch cards.
Yeah.
There's things, and you know, you get the Sunday papers, things fall out, you know, and then there's the lottery, the huge amount. I mean, what do you think? What do you think about all that, Jack?
There is people that can go out and they can buy a scratch card one a week, and that's okay. They haven't got a problem with that. It's when you cross the line, or it starts, then you're buying 2 scratch cards and then 3. When scratch cards first come out, I bought 10. Can't remember how much I won, but I kept buying cards. And I walked in one day and bought 100.
100?
100 cards, but I was gambling heavily at the time as well. I wasn't winning at the horses, so I thought maybe I'll get it here.
Can you remember the look on the person's face that was serving you? Like, when you walk into the shop and go, they'll think, well, I want a scratch card, you want 100 of them?
She said 100, and I said yes, 100. And she just done that there and started counting them, and then she gave me them.
And that was it? Never said
And
a
that
word?
was it. And I went out and sat in the car and scratched them.
Any lengths, huh?
Mm.
What do you think of the scratch cards and the lottery stuff, Kate? How does it affect you?
No, as I said to Jack earlier, if you're going to stop selling scratch cards, it's not the ordinary people that don't have the addiction can go in and just buy one scratch card. So you're taking away their rights to do what they want. So at the end of the day, I mean, they're going to sell scratch cards everywhere.
Sure.
So it's only people like us that have a problem with gambling that will have a problem with scratch cards.
Yeah, and that's great, because it's important that you're saying that, because it's true that, you know, people shouldn't suffer because of we've got an addictive personality, and that's the way it is. But I do think that that the illness, can I see it as an illness,
Yeah, it is an illness.
should really be taken much more seriously
Yes.
than it is. And I know that the GA, like AA and everything, and I'm always getting into trouble for this, and it's like I always not continually break the traditions of it, because you're not supposed to say anything on the television. But I mean, you know, I think if people aren't aware of it, and there'll be a lot of people watching this program won't really know that you can pick up the phone to someone that not only understands, that's not going to give you lip service, that has actually been there, probably done it worse than yourself, and knows what it's like to make the comeback, and it can give you that strength.
Yeah.
And it's just so important, and I'm very, very grateful to both of you for coming on here tonight and just putting out that message of hope. I mean, you're looking great. It's nice to meet you at last after all the times we've talked on the phone. And for you, you know, you've got your family back here, and you're being a good mum, and hopefully just a day at a time everything's going to be good for both of you. So thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
And my thanks again to Jack and Kate. But before I go, here's a few tips for coping with difficult situation. And these are called the commandments for handling distress. Free yourself from self-blame. Learn to give yourself approval rather than depending on others' support. Get in touch with your feelings and learn to express them. Don't keep them inside, you know. It's better to get things out than hold it in. Understand and accept yourself as you are. Avoid being controlled by shoulds and oughts and have-tos, and concentrate on your wants and desires. Keep your self-talk positive. That's so important. You know, keep positive, because it's very easy to fall into the trap of feeding yourself with negatives. You know, you get into that thing like if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any. You know, so you've got to start telling yourself positive things. It's not what happens to you, but your perception of the event that produces distress. Take charge of your life. You're not dependent on outside control. You can manage the forces in your situation. Decide what you want to happen, not what you don't want to occur. I hope you've been paying attention to that. I'm Beachy Coakley, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.